Welcome to the Josh Bolton Show, where we dive into interesting and inspiring conversations. And now, your host, Josh Bolton.
There we go. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah.
It's good?
Coming through great.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, Josh Bolton, the man, the myth, the legend. Here we go.
Thank you. I would say the same could be said about you. I was doing my research on you.
Yeah, well, I'm an old fart that just doesn't give up and just keeps going after stuff. So I just wrote a 25-year plan last year when I turned 60. So, yeah, it's the $25,250 million plan. So
That's interesting.
it's the 10X and the 100X.
Oh, so 10X is 10 years, or is it or is it shorter?
10X is 10 times bigger. My coaching program that I've got, I want it to be 10X. So back at that time, it was about 2.5 million. So I want to get it to 25 million. And then there's the second phase of what we do, which is buying and selling businesses. I want that to grow to where we've got businesses that we purchase that are generating $250 million. So anyways, it gives me something to think about. We may go past that. We may not get to it, but I've got a lot of drive here. I'm not slowing down and into retirement. Stop cursing at me. Stop it.
Why are they cursing you?
Well, if somebody's going to try to imprison me to put me into retirement,
They might as well just kill you then.
You always go two directions here. When you're going to something, you're coming from something, right?
Right.
So if you go to retirement, what are you coming from? Functioning and being a contributing asset to society in some way, right? So I refuse to go down without swinging. So anyway.
It sounds familiar. I would say a lot of people tell me like, oh, why do you keep doing it? I'm like, I'm just too stubborn to admit defeat. I probably should have quit like a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I missed the window and I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. That'll work all day long, man. So
I was listening to a few of your episodes. You essentially helped design the software that in the QuickBooks essentially bought, right?
Yeah, we actually had they got two divisions for their software. One for CPAs to do taxes for their clients and bookkeeping for the clients. And then we have for the end user like QuickBooks and Quicken and that type of thing. TurboTax, you do it yourself for the taxes for so we're on the professional side. I'm originally I used to be a CPA. Okay. And so we had the fourth largest CPA software firm in the country. And so the largest, which is Intuit, they bought us. So we sold our business to them. And so they took over. We had about 400 employees. And so they took 121 employees over and converted them and just really sharp. And then they took some of our technology and they still use some of it. So, yeah.
That's good.
20 years ago. Yeah.
I would say 20 years ago and they're still using it. That means you were definitely ahead of your game back then.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they've, new generations of it and, so technology changes. So, or the guts of it changes, but the functionality is still the same. So anyway.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So then I'm curious, how did you scale your software company to the point that you were hiring the 400 people? What was some of the small stuff?
Are we on the interview now?
Might as well. I would say I'm loving this intro already.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do it.
I would say first introduce yourself, Tim.
All right. Tim Redmond. And according to my wife, I'm a little bit too spastic here for my age. But I love to play hard and work hard and make a difference. I actually, Josh, I used to go around through a nonprofit and train people in leadership and growth. And I talk to business leaders and pastors and government leaders all over the world. I remember one time I was speaking to a group of 20,000 people in Brasilia, Brazil. And I feel the smile of God on me as much talking to a plumber that is having a rough time making payroll. And one guy I'm thinking of in particular is making about $3,000 a month, barely able to support his family, really not able to support his family. And 2 years into working with us, like he's at 30,000 plus a month in profits.
Nice.
And yeah, so I feel the smile of God on me as much doing that as I did yelling at a whole bunch of, thousands of people. So I love what I do, and it's awesome. But yeah, so we that's the introduction. As I work with business owners, I help them grow their business, and we have a coaching program that's more of a do it for you coaching program. We do it with you some too, and but yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Okay, I'm curious to do it for you. Does that mean like you essentially do a lot of the back end work, like the?
Yeah. So we just one of my sales staff just shared a document with me and said, "Hey, this guy, he jumped on board. We're a 3-month program, and we basically just show him the blueprint, and then we implement it. We do 98% of the work on it." And he said, I've used I think he said he had 7 marketing companies that he had used before, wasted all kinds of money. And I said, well, marketing is just some of what we do. We're really a business growth company. And so you'll see that first of all, we meet with you every week. How many times did you meet with the other company? Oh, never? Oh, okay. Except if you didn't pay the bill. So we're just doing a lot of stuff. For years, I coached, Josh. I coached in a way that I would tell them 7 things this, 23 things that. Let's get these things done. There's 2 things you got to just get knocked out here this next week. Come back the next week. And did you do them? No, I'm too busy. So that's where I just expanded my business. I've got about 25 people that we actually do all the work. We build the websites. We do the SEO. We do the online marketing and advertising. We do the reputation management marketing. We help them build their customer list. We write the scripts for them. It's a do it for you company, but we're doing it with them too. They've got to sign off on it, but
right.
A lot of fun. And the results are day and night from a typical coach to what I'm doing now. So love it.
That's interesting because actually a guy asked me to come on his show, and then he pretty much picked my brain freely about podcasting. And now he's like, "Can you be my coach?" And I'm like, "Sure."
Yeah.
But then it was one of those, he wanted me to essentially do what you're doing, but I'm like, okay, but that's a lot of back end work. You're not going to get like my services for $100 a month kind of thing.
Yeah, you got to pay to play.
I told him, I'm like, I'm not going to scalp you, but it's also not going to be cheap either.
No. And you don't need to apologize for that, especially if you'll hold yourself to a standard of saying, hey, if I don't like you or you don't like me, we can fire each other anytime along the way. Boom, right. Done, And so that's kind of what we do is we, if they don't like what we do, kick us to the curb as rudely as they want to. And then if we find that we work with a lot of contractors like plumbers and electricians and home builders and remodelers and people that put in pool, just any kind of home services and commercial services. So if we find that they're taking advantage of some 78-year-old granny and overcharging them and telling them they need a bunch of stuff repaired, they don't, we reserve the right to fire our clients as well, too. I know that doesn't help for my podcast, but, you got to have an honest conversation, right? Josh, somebody wants how many hours, how many dollars have you wasted? Have you tried out things? Have you been in this podcast and they want all that for free? It doesn't even make sense.
All the time. So, they're like, oh, we'll pay like $100 for a quick cheat sheet. And I'm like, oh, yeah, but then you're going to need me to explain why I said that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. They want a treasure map that you spent several $100,000 to write and create. And they want that for pennies on the dollar. And so it's like, but most people are not doers. That's another thing. Most people aren't doers, and I'm not down on humanity. I'm part of humanity, and that's why I hire coaching organizations to if I say kick my ass, do we need to take that off?
I can just put explicit on. Keep going.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. So, we all need some butt kicking. How about that? And accountability and all that. Without accountability, nothing improves. Nothing improves. So I set up accountability to keep me off my butt moving forward, So, most people aren't doers. You can give them a detailed list and they're not going to, most people won't do squat. So,
and that's where, and I told him point blank, I said, I know you're trying to hire me so you can get everything out of me to your assistant. She's the focused one, and I like her. But I'm like, I know in like 6 months you're going to kick me to the curb, and then I have nothing to do. I said, so I told him, I said, you're paying for essentially me to hyper train your assistant to be your second. I'm like, the knowledge I'm going to give her, you're probably going to have to give her a raise, just so you know, kind of thing.
That's good. Yeah. So, I find that poverty is promoted with pursuing free.
Yes.
Prosperity is promoted by pursuing exchange. And you create, I've redefined in this book, Power to Create, I've redefined what wealth is. It's not something you gather. It can be, a bank account and houses or properties or whatever but wealth is something that flows from you. It's the creation of value to serve people, and you create it so well, people want to exchange something of value to get it. And so we want to encourage that exchange, and it's just helped a lot of my clients here. And just
it also just reminds me of I'm probably paraphrasing it terribly, but it's The Richest Man in Babylon.
Oh, I love that book. Yes.
Yeah, because that's where he was explaining to the students, they're like, oh, well, wealth is money. He's like, no, it's the ability to give freely and not worry about the income kind of thing.
It's perfectly, yeah. Short book, didn't have any pictures in it, so it took me a while to get through.
Me too. I had to get the audio.
But I loved it. I've given that book to all my kids. I got 4 above average kids, thanks to my wife. And but yeah, that's a phenomenal story. And you know who wrote it? It was a map maker in 1926 from Colorado, traveled around the world and saw where people in the roaring 20s, people were just being foolish with their money. And so he wrote Richest Man in Babylon as kind of a story to give them so that they would read so they'd better manage their money. And then boom, we got 1929 happens, the Great Depression, it begins, and people started managing the money a bit better. Everybody, but I'd say the government, maybe.
Since day one of founding this country, they haven't done so well, but that's a different story for another day.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the biggest one I tell people, because they're like, oh, Josh, you can be very successful in this now. I'm like, what are 2 books if we're willing to read? I'm like, Richest Man in Babylon, Think and Grow Rich. After that, I can give you a great list, but if you can conquer those 2, you pretty much have the roadmap for everything.
That covers both sides, both ditches there on that here. Money management and the creation of money through your thinking process and your intention and intensity of desire. Yeah, I love that. Matter of fact, I got one of my coaching clients. I'm actually going through Think and Grow Rich right now. So just love it. I've been through it a bunch, but I like to read it as if it's the first time, and just do all the exercises just like it's the first time, and just boom,
I make it a personal rule to at least reread it once a year.
Josh, that's a great idea to do that, just to keep your mind thinking along those lines. So
I'm curious for you. You mentioned the coaching and going over Richest Man. Think and Grow Rich with them, or was it Richest Man?
Think and Grow Rich. I've got a client I'm going through Think and Grow Rich. We recommend that book. We recommend a number of books. One is the best leadership book ever written. It's called Leadership and Self-Deception by the Arbinger Group and Consulting Group. based in Utah. And anyway, that's a great book. Richest Man of Babylon is a great book. Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, still a great book. It was like one of the most influential business books of the 20th century, but here in the 21st century still applies, so.
Yeah, we haven't changed that much in that much time.
No, that's right.
So with the reason I was asking that question is,
please.
Is it during your session, your weekly session with them, you're going over the book, or is it more like, okay, this is the chapter I want you to get over kind of thing?
Well, yeah, I have a handful of clients that I coach. I've got 6 coaches, and they carry the lion's share of we got about 150 clients. We're rapidly growing, actually. And anyway, with the handful of clients I maintain, we'll cover a lot of the, how are you winning and what's the big, burning fires that we got to address, and, what are some tactical things we can begin to do. And then for him, he's a CEO of a fast growing construction company in the Dallas area. And so we're covering on just his personal power planning, and then his team management, with the do loop, the feedback do loop, and all that we set up. And it's just, his productivity has just gone through the roof as a result. But we'll take about 15 minutes of our 50-minute call, and we'll just hammer on it. Like right now we're on chapter 3, and we're just going to hammer the garbage out of that tomorrow morning. Just love it. So
awesome. So then I'm curious, then how do you market yourself? Or is it just podcasts to get more clients?
No, podcast is fairly new. And I'm seeing basically, I'm testing this to see if it works, so we've actually picked up a number of clients from it, just from an offer that we, kind podcasters like yourself allow us to offer. And we offer your services for free, Josh. No, I'm just kidding. That's not the offer.
Oh, well then.
But anyway, we just do, for business owners, we do a deep dive into their business, and it's a fairly cool process where we give them a new business model and a 3-year tactical action items to get to their 3-year goal. But so we will, we'll bring people through a process in our coaching where we're working on what needs to be worked on that's yelling the loudest right now. And most of our clients are they're wasting marketing dollars, and they're guessing on this, guessing on that. But I wanted to do a lot of these podcasts to test it out, and then I'm going to do my own podcast, and I will be inviting you to it too. I hope you can come on board.
I'll go
just to share all your secrets of podcasting. No, I'm not you. We'll talk about whatever you want to. We can talk about your obsession about 4-leaf clovers. I don't know. I don't think that's your obsession. I'm just making that up. But anyway, people are like, well, I know Josh. That's really his obsession? I never knew that. Yeah, he never told me that either. So the way we market is we do a lot of our SEO is really strong. Like if you type in Tulsa business coach, or you type in plumber marketing, or you type in, like I do a lot of faith-based things, Josh. And so if you type in Christian business coach, I'll show up on page 1 somewhere. And so we get a lot of it from SEO. We spend a lot of money with Facebook and Insta. We tried YouTube. It hasn't worked as well, but we're probably going to try that again soon. So we do a lot of social media marketing, and we're really fine tuning that, but we'll spend $12,000, $15,000 a month just on Facebook alone, Yeah. So, but we're, it's we find what works, and we pursue that. And that stuff that doesn't work, we don't spend as much money on. We don't try to make it work for us. People keep spending money on things. Had one guy that was doing Google AdWords, and it's like he was spending $3,000 a month. And I talked to the coach about it. I said, how many sales has he got on this thing? Well, none. I go, okay, $3,000 a month. It's a lot of money in my book.
That's a very expensive ad.
So how many leads has he talked to? Well, I don't know that he's even talked to any leads. I said, let's stop that until we can figure out how to get the fish biting. Don't have good money chasing after bad projects that don't work. They may work for somebody else, but the way you're doing it doesn't work, Clearly. And so we actually put a timeout on that. I'm going to have my team just review everything because this guy does a lot on his own, and we just want to take it over and just, okay, let's do it, and let's do kind of a crawl, walk, run before we start spending $3,000, $100 a day on it. Just hold off. Let's make sure it's proven itself. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but
it does. But then another one I was thinking, because you're very business, but also faith-based, have you looked into LinkedIn ads? I know they're expensive, but I hear they're very effective.
Yeah, the LinkedIn, I've tested some LinkedIn. I've done some lead by chat, and it's the return on our money has actually been pretty good, but it's just too much work compared to some other activities. So it's not bad, but I haven't spent money directly on LinkedIn ads. I've subscribed to Sales Navigator, and then I've hired somebody else to say, okay, go find some people that we want to have conversations with, and boom, boom, boom. And then we kind of take over after he queues them up, and they go, hey, how can I find out more information? Boom, here we come in. So right. It's frankly, Josh, it wasn't enough for me to spend a lot more time and money on it.
Okay.
I'm not downing it, though. It's worked great for a lot of people.
Yeah, I had a mentor, and one of his big success stories is this guy hyper-focused, and he wanted to do like 3-day retreats for executives. They're struggling and whatever. And so he ran such a hyper-focused ad that essentially he has a lead list for the rest of his life. It's so insane how focused he was. But the guy's like, yeah, but he had to spend like almost 50, 60K for the month to get that lead list. I was like, yeah, I don't have that much money. I don't know if I could even get enough credit.
50K a month, but what's the kind of return? I mean, it's a simple mathematical equation, and, how much does it cost to deliver your product? And if it's really low, it's all digitized, and that's great. So you can go up to, spending 25 or even 40% on it. If you've got JVs that you're giving half the money to, if your cost of delivery is not as high. Now, if you're a home builder, you're buying lumber and all this kind of stuff, your cost of delivery, all that labor and all that, you're easily 70%, and then you got your overhead. And so, with our clients, we want them, the remodelers, we want them to be north of 20%, but home builders and that, we want to get them as close as we can to the 20%, so you don't want to, you just want to spend money wisely here. You get a lead, and how much did it cost for you to land a sale on that? And was that worth the profit you're going to get on that? Not just what your sale is, what's your profit you're going to generate from that. And if it works out, then just turn up the spigot and go for it. I'm testing this sales funnel right now within Facebook that the first round, we got one solid lead from it. We closed them. So we're batting 1,000. It's great. But, it's like I spent like just under $900 to get that. It's not bad for getting a client, but it's not ready to turn up the spigot to scale that. It's just, we got to get that under $200 per phone call. So
yeah, I was gonna say, is that $1,000 a month, or is that just a one-time fee?
Well, it's we would that I ran it for about a month. So okay. So I, about 2 weeks into it, I saw that I had a desktop and a mobile version. The desktop was not working, Josh. So I shut that down. Says, hey, you're in timeout. Then had the mobile, and that had some good leads from it, but it really didn't come to me having a phone call. And so that's what I'm doing. So I'm just retooling that entire sales funnel, and then we're going to test it out. Once we get it to where, if we can get a phone call for $150, $200, we'll close 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4 of those easy for a real high priced item that we sell. And we promise you'll usually get double back in the first 3 months you use it, but you'll add another 100,000 to your bottom line in the next year. So we have a lot of promises on it. It really delivers, but it's just once you nail it, then you scale it, but don't scale it until after you nail it. So that's where we spend a lot of money advertising wrongly. Is we're trying to scale something and we haven't even nailed it yet. The numbers aren't working. You gotta make them work in the small, then you make them big. And if the numbers keep staying the same, great. If something falls apart, pull back, learn your lesson, make the adjustment, and get back scaling.
9 times out of 10, the data doesn't lie to you. So just do whatever it says.
That's so true. That's exactly what happens on that. So anyway, did you have any questions, or you think you're the people that listen to this thing? What questions you guys have, or drain my brain? I want to give you all kinds of free stuff here if you want it.
Awesome. So I was curious because you mentioned earlier your 10 and 25 year goal. How do you plan out 25 years worth of growth?
Well, I don't get super specific. A 25-year plan for me it's a 10x of my core coaching business. And because that'll be at a level where I have enough where I'm training my coaches to do the real work that I want them to do, which is the 100x vision, which is to get to where we're buying businesses and building them up. And sometimes we'll sell them, but I want my coaches that I've trained on how to build a business. I want them running these businesses.
Okay.
And so that's the business model that I'm having. So I have a really just those 2 big numbers are the core part of that vision. And then as we go in, we'll have a 10-year lookout. I follow a lot of the traction stuff. Gina Wickman traction, where you have a 10-year target and you're looking out 3 years, and then you have your 1-year goal and you have your quarterly rocks. That's kind of how we run our business here. And so I like just looking out 25 years. I'll be 85 and I'm wanting all pistons to be popping at that point. So I don't want to be in a rocking chair waiting to die. That's for sure.
I would say you strike me as the guy, unless it's vacation, even then you're like, I got to fix this chair, got to fix this.
Yeah. And I right now, I'm married to a woman that's better than I deserve. And the kids are growing up. My youngest, I got 3 boys and a girl. And the youngest my girl is in dental school, just finishing her first year. So we hardly get to see her at all. It's just very intense. And we do a family vacation, but I take my wife to places that we used to go to when I would speak at an event, and hey, they're paying our airfare and they're going to maybe give me a couple of dollars if I yell at people and get them laughing and hooping and hollering. So we do that. I go, no, I'm taking her now to resort places and different places she wanted to go, and I don't have to work, so that's the fun. So I get to chase her. I like to chase her around resorts and all that. So that's going to be part of my work, part of my, 10X in that vision here. And it's like my great grandmother said from Ireland, the lads, they chase the losses until she catches him. So, so like, what?
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah. Boys chase girls until the girls catch the boys. So anyway, I don't know. That's probably not politically correct nowadays. I don't know what to think about that.
It's whatever. I just had a guy on. I had a guy on yesterday talking about how women are getting more alpha and testosterone, and men are becoming more bitches. And I'm like, it's sad to say, but it's kind of true.
Oh, Jesus. Well, yeah, I grew up. I'm one of 11 kids, mostly boys, 7 boys, 4 girls. And we're all athletic, all wrestlers. And we broke hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of furniture. My poor mom. So
you poor mom.
So the whole gender thing, there was no gender confusion on that. But some people, I don't judge anybody on it. I just,
It
you
is
have a
what it is.
Supreme Court
That's your style. Go
justice
for it.
what's that?
I said, it's your style. Go for it.
Yeah. No, I just, when you have a Supreme Court justice that couldn't define what a woman was, I'm like, okay, well, I respect where she's coming from because she doesn't, it's confusing and some people get really reactive. It's a very reactive culture. And so if you say something wrong, then you're canceled out or you're attacked almost. And so she was extremely intelligent, very accomplished lady, very articulate, just couldn't define something real simple. So I'm like, whoa, it's kind of indicative of our times, So what I like to do is I like to say, okay, what value can I create to make somebody's life better? And so I had a guy yesterday from Minnesota call me.
Okay.
And he was hauling trash. And, I asked him what his business model was. And it was a pretty good sized company, but he was barely making labor wages for his profit. I go, well, that's not profit. That's your pay. You're making $4,000 a month and you can hardly support your family on that. You said that's your profit. Well, no, that's your labor. You're doing the work. And so I spent about an hour on the phone with him, coaching him. He says, you can't afford our stuff, but do this. If you do this, call me back. And after it's done, then I'll give you another hour worth of my time until you can afford to come on board with us. So I love helping businesses, whether I get paid or not, mostly when I get paid, but I love seeing somebody use their talent, their focus, their energy to create something to serve other people. And hopefully those people are happy enough to keep using that product. So anyway.
100%. And that's like, for me, one of the biggest tricks I do is like, this guy, I know he has money. He does real estate, apartment syndication. So I'm like, he's making stupid money every month and he acts like he's broke. And I'm like, I get it. You want to seem like you're broke, so no one wants to overcharge you. But I'm like, I know in saying apartment syndication, you're making a shit ton of money. Yeah.
Really. Let's just don't pour mouth it. Just, you can be low key, but don't lie, and I even get into it. I in this book, Power to Create, which I'll get a copy of it here. Just this Power to Create. It is a faith-based book, but it's not.
Okay.
It's not, it's really easy to read. And I've had people from all religions and no religions read it and get a lot of help. It's a lot of our coaching program on how to build a company with it. But, it's amazing because one of the things that we deal with is handling money. And some people feel like making a profit is like a dirty, unclean thing. They got something they're going to sell to their friend and their friend says, well, are you going to make a profit on this? Oh, no, I don't dare do that. I'm like, what kind of numbskull is that?
I wouldn't want him as a friend then.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, Josh. So there is this thing called the morality of a prophet. I know this will probably get a lot of calls in and people wanting to protest Tim Redmond and I give you my address and my email is Tim@Redmond Grove. You can yell at me all you want. But there's a morality of profit. Like if you don't have enough profit in your business won't continue. And so those families working for the business that rely on that income, that becomes unreliable. It shuts down. The customers that are relying on you delivering that product or service on a regular basis, if you don't make enough profit, you're going to shut down. And so there's almost like a moral obligation to the people that rely on this business to make sure you have enough profit so that you can keep going. You don't have to apologize for it. So.
Oh, and that's the biggest one I tell people is like, because everyone, or I currently work, they're all W-2 workers. And I realize I'm the entrepreneur. I'm still using them to get some cash flow, but I'm getting out soon. And I told them, they're like, oh, they make stupid profit every day. And I'm like, let's put in really, really simple math. You have to rent out a building. Let's say it's $50K a month. You say we make $50K a week. They're like, right. So that's 1 week gone. Then they have to pay us. That's probably another $50K gone. Then they have to pay insurance and shit. And this is just our area. Yeah. That's another $50K gone. So they barely have maybe
Where's the
20,000.
profit? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're, with my CPA background, we actually help people with their cash management. Let's get their business rocking and rolling. Let's make sure that their product or service is profitable, and then how to sell that. Even if they have to raise their price, we do it in a way where people aren't losing customers over it, or they're losing the right customers. But then, how do you begin to manage that cash? And so we actually, I apply everything that I teach and I pour into people. I actually apply it in our own business, in my own life. And so it's really, really a lot of fun to see people really get a master at that. Had to have a guy that's like, he's in Arkansas, and he came to us and he had about $100,000 a month business building sheds and
Interesting. Okay.
small things like that. And had a pretty good business, but he had like a 5% profit. So he's working his butt off, and what's left over, he wasn't even paying himself. And so his $5,000 wasn't even worth the labor. And so we've worked through that process. Now he's hitting around $600,000 a month, but he's hitting between a 15 and 20% profit. And right now it's probably more closer to 15%, but he's paying himself a very reasonable salary where he can support his family on that. And he's an older guy. I think he's 67. He goes, you know what? I'm now starting to dream for the first time. My business is providing enough for me that I'm actually setting up legacy for my grandkids and helping them get where they need to go. And so it's just really fun to be able to be part of that. So
it is. It is. So I'm curious for you. You mentioned it earlier. We kind of just went past it, but how do you pick your coaches to get them on the team, train them up, and have them do their thing?
That is a great question, Josh. So first of all, I look for you hire for character, you train for skill, right? And you've heard that. That was a real popular saying in the 90s. And but it's still true today. So we look for folks. Now, we generally are not looking for people with experience in consulting, because I want to teach them my system and my methodology, and it's pretty intense. And but we'll have people come on. They got one of the number one things is, they got to be intelligent. They got to be curious. They got to want to learn. So that's all like the one area. The other area is how coachable are they, and are they a know-it-all, and are they, because our coaching is really even designed around the client is actually teaching us or coaching us in their business so we can help coach them and how to expand it. And we like to do it safely. We like to do it where, for the most part, their growth actually funds their own growth, the excess profits. So not having to borrow money. And so, we look for those kind of folks, and it doesn't matter whether they got a degree or not. They just have to be thinking. They got to be curious. They got to be able to handle. It's like a psychologist sometimes with people, and they've got to not just tolerate people. I look for people that really have a love for people. And our clients, sometimes we're rough with them, but most of them would say, you know what, the Redmond group, I feel like they love me, and they love what I'm doing, and they're more obsessed with making my wallet obese than I am, just growing my bank account more than I am. So, those are the characteristics. Those are the character traits we need. We need intelligence. We need curiosity. We need coachability. We need kind of a compassion and empathy. And we need to have people that are comfortable not having the exact answer in the moment, because we're gathering it. Now, the sheer fact that we've coached over 2,000 contractors, and we focus on contractors and specialty docs like chiropractors, dentists, pain management specialists, surgeons. So with these guys, we've done so many of them that we've actually already solved the problem they haven't even run into yet, but we've solved that problem hundreds of times.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a collective wisdom that we're gathering, but there's a lot of in the moment of having to really, determine what's going on. I've got a call out to one of our clients whose dad is about near death, and he's really confused to say, well, I can't really own a business and take care of my dad. I'm like, well, I didn't really tell him that, so I'm not going to have you on the phone coaching Josh.
Darn, I didn't pass the interview.
No, we use that term to describe a mindset here that's not serving people well. We've used that. We've used other animals and, the fecal matter that they produce. And anyway, but yeah, he's making what I call it is a dumb dichotomy. It's just like, how can I don't want to get, like a dumb dichotomy as well. If I'm going to get rich, I'm going to have to work too hard. I don't want to lose my family. So either I get rich or I lose my family. I said, well, that's like a dumb dichotomy. Why do you need to lose your family? You spend more time with your family. I had one guy, I was actually doing a church service, like what they call marketplace ministry, where I was using the Bible to talk about how to grow your business. And one guy came up to me and said, hey, I've got a good business, but I want to improve it. And I want to hire you to be my coach. I said, well, great. Sounds great. He goes, yeah, but I don't want to grow. I said, well, I don't know if I want to be your coach. It sounds boring to me not to grow something. He goes, well, I just don't want to work any more hours than I'm working. I go, well, that's a scarcity thought. You think either you work a lot and get a big company, or you don't work as much and you keep your business smaller. I said, that's a scarcity thought, either this or that. Well, let's go into abundance with and in both. Let's only grow your business if we can reduce the hours you work. And so we've got him now down to where, he's at $5 million. He's making about $800,000. I mean, he's not hurting cash wise, and he's based in Canada. So maybe he is hurting cash wise because the taxes.
Their taxing system is insane.
But anyway, he's a really good man, cares for the community. He gives to his local church and helps mentor young men and women, wanting to get started in business. He's just a prince of a man. But we did a 2-day, where we went through the annual program, and he had he'd almost doubled. He hit just under $9 million, but his net income went from 16% to 24%. He's actually made over $2 million in profit, and he's only working 20 hours a week, and he only has to work 5 hours a week. Just so, that's what we have to attack, that kind of thing that you call horseshit. It's, it's a mindset that's not serving people well. And that's why I pay coaching organizations to help me see what I'm blind to.
Oh yeah. And that's the biggest one I've learned on this show in general, talking to awesome guys like you, is coaches are not necessarily, you have to pay them, but I tell people it is good to pay them because then you're invested in results.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We with our clients, they pay at the first of the month. We don't pay at the end of the month. Well, let me see what you do for me. No, if you're not in it, I'm not in it. See ya.
Right.
So plus my wife loves me more when I begin the month with a whole lot of money in the bank. So that's also one of my motivations. So anyway, but no, yeah, you want to make sure you get skin in the game. And it is amazing. You know what I find? There are some people's businesses that are just so messed up, and yet the owners like defending themselves. They're not coachable. And yet I see these really successful, and they're not all of them, because we've turned around some messes of businesses that are just humming right now, and they're doing very well. They would be considered probably wealthy at this point. They don't need their business anymore. They can sell their business or leave their business go, and they got enough to live for another 200 years. But I find that the people that are really diligent those become some of the best customers, because the little bit that they get from you, they take it and they run with it, and then boom, you get these huge results. And so it's kind of like, you go to the church service and they have this special marriage retreat or the special marriage training. And, the people with the strong marriages, they attend. The people whose marriages are falling apart, they don't have time for that garbage, So it's like, huh? Okay, well, maybe that's one of the mysteries or the paradoxes of life, I suppose. So understanding humans.
It is, and it'll be an ever ongoing situation. I'm for me, like I grew up in we'll just skip all the nitty gritty stuff, but essentially, I got misdiagnosis, like schizophrenic. I was on drugs most of my life.
Jesus. Oh,
and I was seeing shit.
Josh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's tough. Go ahead. Sorry.
But essentially, recently when I finally got off it, and my instructor even said, like, how did you like survive? Because he picked me up when I was 13. I tried to take my life like 6 months beforehand. I'm a tough son of a bitch to kill, so I only passed out.
It's not really a laughing matter, but oh my gosh. All right.
That's where then essentially he asked me, like, where do you think you would be? I'm like, honestly, if you did not pick me up, I'm like pretty much certain I'd be dead in the gutter somewhere, because I was so crazy.
Wow, Josh. And look what you're doing now here, man. It's like, how many people are you helping out? And
oh yeah, it's countless now. I don't even know. I know that I'm helping a lot of people. And that's the big one. He said, like pretty much since day one of like you started elementary, you were set to fail, but you reset your path. And I'm like, kind of like I told you earlier, I'm like, I'm just too stubborn to admit it. I'm like, yeah, I'm seeing weird shit in the corner. It's fine. Whatever, typical Tuesday.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's amazing. So now who are the main folks that watch this podcast? I did the reading on it, but just to hear directly from you.
So it's predominantly entrepreneurs, business owners, but then also open-minded thinkers. I've had a guy come on. He's very Hindu, and we talked about his stuff. And
that's awesome. Yeah.
So it's just, it's predominantly business. I'm always known as a business guy now, but it's just like this one. If I find someone interesting, I'm going to chat with them too.
Yeah. So, and by the way, anybody can be an entrepreneur if they find a need and they figure out a way to fill it and meet it and do it in a way that's so good that people want to pay you for it. Mm-hmm. And there's 10 trillion opportunities out there right now. Yep. So, what do you think is some of the biggest challenges that your business owners or entrepreneurs that are watching this podcast, what are some of their biggest challenges, you think?
So actually one of them, I've been giving them a lot of free coaching to help them out, is it's commitment more than anything.
Right.
And that's where I told them, I'm like, it's one of those, they say it and it sounds like a cliche, but it's true. Do what you love and the money will figure itself out.
Right. Yeah.
And that's where I told them, I'm like, I love helping people. I said, I'm martial artist. I love figuring out the story behind a form. And then how my brain works, I can break it down to the most granular level without destroying the value and tell you it. I said, that's just how I work. Yeah, you give me a ton of data, I can sort it and I can give it to a 5-year-old easy kind of thing.
That's a skill right there. That's pretty awesome.
I was used to joke for the longest time. Now I stopped doing it because it was giving me like bad mojo or whatever. I said, I have this great skill, but I don't know how to make money with it. It's like, well, now I do.
Boom. You got it. And that's the idea of just really monetizing, what gives you joy and what when you're working on it, it's just, you're able to help people in a way that they turn around and they go, wow, thanks. And, it's all about focused on serving others. I know some of the big problems that we've had when we work with clients is they kind of feel lost in the shuffle, and so they don't know how to advertise what they offer in a real poignant, kind of almost shocking way to get people's attention. And so we talk about what Seth Godin, you probably read the book. He wrote it 20 years ago, but it's called The Purple Cow. So helping businesses find the purple cow. What makes them stand out? He said, well, I'm a plumber and there's 3,000 other plumbers in this town here. How, what do I do? Fix pipes, fix leaks. And that's what everybody else does. So, well, there's unique ways of doing that, I mean, one guy's right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where we're based. I mean, our clients are all over the U.S. and Canada, but I looked at his van, and he says, we wear belts. I go, we wear belts? Why do you say that? He said, well, we just don't want to fall into what plumbers fall into, which is, when they're working, everybody can see their butt crack. And so we actually built the marketing around that as part of the purple cow. Is we have a no butt crack guarantee. Like, what? So people are calling on the phone and they're laughing and says, yeah, are you guys the ones with the no butt crack guarantee? And then what it is if you see our butt crack during the job here, it's labor's free, So anyway, so it's just, people finding their purple cow, really knowing how to engage their customers. And we have this one process where we build every business we build real successful. We build on the foundation stone is their reputation, their character and their competency together, working together, these two. And so we build a whole reputation where the whole community knows, wow, these guys are awesome. So that helps out. Any other questions you might have that we can talk about on helping your business owners?
I just got a side question. How long do I got you for?
Well,
because I'm saying it's almost 11.
Let me just go out here just for a second. Nobody's going to see what I'm looking at, right?
No, God, no.
Okay. We don't have a share screen. Hey, I've got, it looks like I can go till as late as 10 after. So I've got upwards of 20 minutes.
Okay.
Or if it's 5, whatever you want there, boss, but I've got a fairly light afternoon. So, but I've got to be somewhere. I got to plug into another meeting at 10 after.
Okay. So then my one question is on the purple cow point. Let's say, just hypothetically, someone has an idea. And I tell people this, it's like, well, I'm good. I'm like everyone else, but I'm like, but I tell them, are you good at email? Are you good at follow-up? And it was the same question. Is that one thing, if they're good with just follow-up or quickly replying to emails, is that worth making a purple cow around?
Yeah. Yeah. So if you find a need, like I just hired, I'm changing my CRM.
Okay.
And I'm changing it to another company that's based in Australia, believe it or not. And they have some relatively low cost professionals that can help them run it. And so the gal that we end up hiring, her specialty was a DM responder. So, it's like my son has got this, one of my sons working the business with me, and he's brilliant. He's really been he's the COO. So he allows me to have time to chase my wife around resorts. But I've got another son who's played college football, and he stays in real good shape. And so he's doing fitness coaching. And so they were looking at one of the services that they offered him was assigning a DM person, a direct messaging person, or email person, or, scratch your butt on Tuesday person. I mean,
you name it, they probably have something.
There's, any skill that you have becomes marketable. What I have found that's been fascinating to me is these people that become virtual assistants. And so there are those that are based in the United States. They charge quite a bit more, but there's some virtual assistants that basically go for anywhere from $4 to $8 an hour. It's just a fraction of what you'd pay here in America, in the US. And so there's all kinds of opportunities that you can build a purple cow around. And you don't despise what you offer, because your opinion of yourself and your opinion of that product, you're going to project that whether you know it or not.
Mhm.
And I think it's an awesome thing. It's a righteous thing. It's a means for you. You know, I wrote in this book, honest to gosh. Okay, so the first chapter in this book, I'm down in Costa Rica training a bunch of pastors, and with a team, and we go to this village, a fairly small village, and this guy's got this. He's a pastor. Soto is his name, in Costa Rica, and he has this huge church that seats 4,000 people that we're going to do this seminar at. And he packs it out, and I go, "How'd you build this thing?" He goes, "Well, let me tell you the story behind the story." And he preached this sermon, Josh, that he said, "Hey, it's like the parable of the talents, where Jesus gave one 5 and 2 and 1, and two of them doubled the talents. The other one buried it." And said, "Now I want you to take," and then the pastor went to a few people and gave them a couple of dollars equivalent to that. He said, "Take your skill and double this." And so he came to this one lady and says, "Well, take your skill and double this." She goes, I can't take your money. I don't have any skill. I don't have any skill. And that's bad. That's rude of you to do this. You know, my husband left me, and I've got 3 hungry kids I can hardly feed. And life has been so hard and miserable. And sometimes opportunity knocks on your door, and it looks unattractive when you first see it. And so she said, "The only thing I know how to do is make pancakes." And honest to goodness, the guy says, "Well, the pastor said, I want you to go buy all the pancake batter, the mix you can, get up super early, make as many pancakes as you can with this money. And I want you to go down to the merchants, and I want you to sell the pancakes." "Oh, it won't work. It won't work. It won't work." Well, she did it anyway. She came running back to the pastor the next day and said, "You wouldn't believe it. They bought all my pancakes." And so business was born. People in the town looked at this single mother with 3 hungry kids. She built a breakfast place. She built a catering place. And she became one of the largest givers in the church, and she sparked an economic revolution. She goes, people said, is that the lady that's making the pancakes? Is this the gal that her husband left her with all these kids? And well, it was a horrible story. Well, she turned it around, and she became a catalyst for an economic revolution, So you can't despise what you have, and sometimes the smallest idea, what it's waiting for is for you to act on it and just go for it,
So true.
And if you have to do the first couple of clients to get a testimony, you have to offer your services for free for a few days just to see if they like it. Boom, whatever it is. But you get the flywheel going, like Jim Collins talked about in Good to Great, and the thing begins to create a momentum on its own. So.
100%. And that's a lot of people have said the same. Well, not her story, but a very similar, where they're like, the guy just was like, he said to me, he's like, they could personally part with the money. It wasn't like a deal. It was more of a learning lesson. But he said, they just said the same thing. I think he was saying, using an analogy of a homeless person. He said he essentially gave him $100, and they befriended, and essentially he gave him a journal and $100. He said, write down what you used the money on. And he said the first 3 weeks, he spent it all on booze. And he was like, he was just appreciative that he even wrote it down, kind of thing. But then it got to the point he realized, oh, in a month in, I'm wasting this money. So he started, it was one of those, he would buy candy bars and go to a lot and sell it for $2. So he bought 100, and so he got 200. And then he said, then he started doing the same thing. He's like, then suddenly he had more money than he realized what he could do with. And he's like, he started buying vending machines, because he's like, you don't need that home. He's like, you don't need a home to have vending machines. He's like, you just need to be able to pay the storage unit if you have to store them. And he's like, now that homeless man is teaching all his fellow brothers and hiring them.
Oh, that's
kind of like that one.
That is amazing. That is amazing here.
But yeah, and that's where, but his thing was, he didn't really give me the story of why he was homeless, but essentially he was like really naturally good with sales. That's why he could easily sell the candy bars, no problem. And that's where the rich man told him, he's like, you have a knack for selling, but you only sell to those you know want it and can do it. He's like, that is very valuable in sales.
That's huge. That's huge. Yeah. Yeah, I have a son that he was a accounting finance, but actually finance student of the year, the football player. And he was working in auditing at a very prestigious CPA firm here in town. And he just was drying up, and he left that job, and he started buying and selling furniture on Facebook Marketplace, and he actually makes more money every month on that than at this prestigious CPA firm that he was actually making good money out there. So there's all kinds of opportunities, that's for sure.
Oh, there is. I learned trading. I'm saying he can see it, the others won't. I have all these books on trading and business and all that.
Yeah.
And I reached out. Do you know Ken Roberts?
I know of Ken Roberts. Yeah.
So I actually reached out to him for the show, and then his whole thing is opportunity is now here. And then he has it spelled out. So where it looks like, if you read it wrong, it looks like opportunity is nowhere or is now here. So we were just chatting, and that's essentially, I told him the March 2020 crash piqued my interest on how to make money with just markets in general. So then he coached me up, and he gave me his free package and all that. I called him recently, and essentially he invited me to his personal trading group. There's no payment, but he's like, we don't really invite people into this group. Once you're in, it's done. And I've now made so much money from this group.
Oh my gosh.
And I told him, I'm like, this is the biggest opportunity, because
I love it.
I get to talk to people, and it's great that we're all fellow like-minded people.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, I love that. That'll work. That will absolutely work. Hey, I wanted to,
okay.
Before we finish, I want to actually tell for anybody that is a business owner, and I've had some podcasters actually join me in doing this, but we do what we call a growth plan for our clients. And we normally charge $2,500 because we analyze their business. We build a business model that's better than the business model they have, built on us coaching so many other businesses before. We build a business model for them, and then we give them anywhere from 8 to 10 concrete action items that if they will act on those, they'll add at least $100,000 of profit onto their business in the next 12 months. And some people gladly pay the $2,500 just because it's such a great rate of return. But if they will identify that I love Josh, or I love Josh's podcast, and they identify themselves with you, and they email me directly, or they go on their website of redmondgrowth.com, REDMOND growth.com. If they will get a hold of me and say, hey, what about that growth plan? I left Josh a 5-star review, or I love Josh. If they somehow tie into that, we will waive that $2,500 fee, and we'll bring them through. They're not going to get a cheapened version, but we'll bring them through the full growth plan. And, we give them all that, even if they don't work with us. Okay. Because we implement so much, most people come on board with us, but there's no hard sale. We're not a hard sale group, but we would love to be able to dive into your business, give you a new set of eyes on it, and give you some concrete things you can do. And I've never had a business owner say, wow, that was a waste. It's an hour or less. And what you walk away with is basically a game plan to say, boom, let's add another 100,000 to our net profits. And,
that's awesome. Anyway, I'm going to make a note to mention that in the beginning of the show, so they listen to the end.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but it's Tim at Redmond Growth, or they look us up, Redmond Growth Consulting. Will show up on Google. We've got over 400 Google reviews that are, from these, our contracting, doctor buddies. And I think most of them are 5-star. We have 2 1-star that are people that I actually personally track that they just don't exist. So I can't. But Google may have gotten rid of those. But no, we would love to be able to help your folks. and they will love the process, even if they know they don't want to sign up. The only thing I ask is it's got to be a legitimate business. It's like, well, hey, I go door to door and selling cookies. Well, yeah, I mean, if you're Mrs. Fields Cookies in the making, great, we can help you. But which is another story here. We had somebody that we were helping out with her cupcakes, and they had a cupcake. She always wanted to make these fancy cupcakes. And so we asked on the front end, it says, well, what kind of monthly profits do you want to make? So, well, I'd like to make $10,000 a month. Okay, well, all right, let's find out how much profit do you make per cupcake? She goes, I have no idea. So we took the time to break all that down, and we found out that she was making 10 cents per cupcake in profit.
Whew.
So we said, okay, well, to reach this goal, you got to sell 100,000 cupcakes a month. Are you close to that? Or no, not even, I'm not even going to sell that in a year, So the business model is wrong. Let's change our business model. We actually changed the business model into her making these wedding cakes where she was making $500 to $800 profit per wedding cake. She only needed to sell, 12 to 20 of those a month, and boom, she was there. And then we had her come back around to do the cupcakes for a profit, and so there's just all kinds of ways that your business can grow the profits, and hopefully even give you the time freedom where you don't have to be a slave to your business.
So I just have a side question that's probably it came to my mind, and probably everyone else is thinking this. Let's say they have a idea for a business, but they don't have income. Could they still reach out to you?
They can reach out. We're probably not going to spend. I mean, we have to go through numbers, and we have to go through projections based on what we can do. And then usually what people are lacking is having quality leads, or they lack the proper pricing where they're making much of a profit. So they can call, and we can spend a little bit of time with them. And the best thing here, Josh, is when you have an idea, don't look at it as the last idea you're ever going to have. I was talking in one, actually it was in a church, and I told the pastor, hey, get all your business leaders and owners together. And I would do a Sunday school class before I was preaching at the service or doing the Sunday morning service. And so I had them there, and then I shared some growth principles. And I said, how about Q&A? So one gal said, hey, I've got this God-given idea, and I just want to know about how to create a prototype for it. I said, well, tell me about the idea. She looked around. She goes, I don't want to say it here because I don't want anybody to steal my idea. And so I go, okay, well, people are probably not as interested in your idea as anybody else, and we're busy with our own lives. But, when did you have this idea come to you? And she goes, well, about 7 years ago. I go, you've wasted 7 years of your life. So this idea was mainly designed for you to get in motion, to learn disciplines for a bigger idea. So what those people with the ideas, we can help them. We can help them with some first steps, but you can probably find just as good information on Google by saying, how do I start a business, or how do I take an idea and make it a business? And Google will give you 7 steps or 3 steps, and they're pretty solid things, but I don't mind talking to them. So all that to say is the important thing is to get busy doing something with that idea.
So if you're going to reach out to him, actually do what he says, kind of thing.
Yeah. That's, but I would love to talk to him. I'd love to talk to your folks, your tribe, and the folks that like to follow what you're doing. And I listen to some of your podcasts. You're kind of low key. You're pretty intense on the inside as I talk to you, more so than I anticipated, just listening to your podcast. But you're really into just stimulating people's minds by the variety of topics that you cover. So I will say I appreciate that about you. I think that's a phenomenal trait to have. So
thank you. Actually, say we're going out. That's when one of my guests I had on, he said like he was nervous beyond belief, like shaking like a dog. And I was like, what are you worried about? He's like, like, wait, by it that intense?
Well, I love that intensity, but you've got a very a great voice to listen to. It's even calming and just inquisitive, and but just as I talk to you, I'll remind you, you said on this air, you said horseshit, okay, as
Yes.
as a coaching mechanism of how I should have responded to one of my clients. So I'm saying I like that intensity. What can I say?
Okay.
So.
Awesome. I want to say we're hitting to the 10 after. We got to let him go. Tim,
Great.
I want to say it's been an absolute honor and pleasure. If you still have my booking link, you're always welcome back on.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks so much, Josh. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Have a good one. Well, congratulations. You made it to the end. You're an awesome person. Not many make it here. So, being the awesome person that you are, can you do me one more awesome favor? Can you rate and review this on whatever podcast services you're using? If you do it on Apple and you leave an actual written review, I have a thing on my website. I will take your written review and post it for all to see. Congratulations, you're permanently sealed on my site. Otherwise, I am trying to do YouTube more and live streaming. I will try to put as many of the YouTube links in the description of the show as I can. So give your boy some extra help over on YouTube. Watch my videos. I just mute it and change the channel, change the window or something. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for being awesome, and see you next time.